The HESH. Good morning everybody and welcome back to another War Finded video, and today as promised I'm taking a look at the Vickers MBT. Now before I get started, I have got a bit of a cold, so please forgive me if I sound the, because I feel the. Anyway, let's begin by taking a look at the stat card. Now, this is a rank 4 I believe, we'll go with that. Rank 4, battle rating, rank 5 sorry, battle rating 7.0. It's in the heavy tank line, but technically it's a main battle tank, as the name would suggest. This vehicle gets a 105mm Royal Ordnance L7A1 cannon, something you're going to be intimately familiar with if you've played the Leopard 1, the Leopard A1A1, any of the Centurion Mark 10. There's quite a large list. It also gets a 7.62 M1919A4 machine gun with 1200 rounds of ammunition, and a 12.7mm L21A1 machine gun. I think the 50 cal machine gun is supposed to be for ranging the HESH shells, as it fires in bursts, much like it does on the Chieftains. Turret rotation speed is 12.7 seconds. Vertical guidance is -7 degrees of gun depression with 20 degrees of elevation. A reload rate of, on my current crew level, 5.9 seconds. A hull armor, we'll get onto the armor in a minute. This tank weighs 38.1 tons with a max engine power of 473 horsepower at 2375 RPM. A max speed of 48 kilometers an hour, which this vehicle will do reasonably comfortably, especially on hard surfaces. Maximum inclination of 41 degrees, a visibility of 107%, not that that really matters outside of arcade battles. Max repair cost of 4,743. And the reward is, well, you can read it. So let's do modifications first, mix it up a bit. So the standard shells you get are what you get, really. You get the Sabo with 302mm of penetration at 100 meters, going out to 252 on a flat angle. At a 30 degree angle, 122 at 100 and 102 at 2000. The HESH round, which lacks substantial penetration but has the same penetration at any range so long as it's on a flat angle, 127mm or 100mm at a 30 degree angle. You can unlock any other shells. This is what you get and this is what you're stuck with. So let's have a look at the armor. This vehicle has 60mm of frontal armour, although due to the sloping, roughly 56 degrees, toward the top of the upper plate we're looking at 98mm of armour, toward the bottom we're looking at 93mm of armour. Of course this is without angling, which drastically increases the thickness of your armour. Being a 7.0 tank, this armour can actually surprise you and other people shooting at you. Lower plate is actually thicker than the upper plate at 80mm thick, which is good because it's not as sloped and it is quite a large target. Effective thickness of between 103 and 105mm from, well, say a flat angle, but from straight on at least. Front of the turret, 8mm thick on the mantlet. Around the gun barrel, 100mm thick. On the sides, 40mm thick there on the side of the mantlet, and the front of the turret itself is 80mm thick. I don't believe there is an armour hole. There is actually 80mm around the rear of the gun mantlet, with the gun mantlet itself being 80mm. So you're better off shooting at the gun mantlet rather than shooting at the flat side of the turret, because there's nothing behind the gun mantlet, assuming of course you can penetrate the 80mm to begin with. Top of the turret, 25mm thick, but from the front I don't think you'd be able to penetrate that. That's a 75 degree angle, almost nigh impenetrable, but then if you have enough penetration, say 100, 120, then you could theoretically penetrate that, but it's not really worth the shot or the wasting time. Boxes on the sides of the turret and the sides of the hull act as 4mm of spaced armour. Side of the turret itself is 40mm, side of the hull is 30. Very weak side armour on this tank. 30mm there again. Rear of the hull, 20mm thick. Rear of the turret is 40mm thick. 19 there. Oof. Top of the engine deck, we're looking at 25mm thick, but only 5mm thick on the vents at the top. So not very good armour really if something's attacking you from the air. Anything with 20mm cannons with ground attack rounds may be able to penetrate the top of this tank. I can't say I've ever had that issue myself personally, but it is definitely something to bear in mind. Open ground, when you know there are aircraft up, that even, you know, chances of them using machine guns or cannons to shoot at you is quite slim if they're carrying ordnance that they can just blow you up with anyway. A rocket, even the smaller caliber rockets, on the back of this engine deck is going to give you some troubles. So, as for the interior, very much the same as most other main battle tanks at the time. We have an ammo rack next to the driver, ammo racks all inside the hull, 3 crew in the turret and the driver, with the engine, transmission and fuel tanks all being in the rear. If you get a shot at this thing from the side, I wouldn't even bother aiming at the turret, just shoot in this general area and you're almost certainly going to detonate an ammo rack, especially if you're shooting at this angle, because then you can penetrate through here, through all these ammo racks, through the ammo rack in the front. It's an easy kill from the sides, without a doubt. As a matter of fact, it may actually be more difficult to kill it from the rear, because you've got the engine and the transmission to penetrate before you can get to the crew compartment and the ammo racks, so that's something to bear in mind. That about sums up the look of this vehicle in the hangar, so let's jump into a game. And welcome back to the actual gameplay footage of this review. This is on a desert map, which I've completely forgotten the name of. Please excuse me, I am awful at this YouTubing stuff, I just do it as a hobby. It's not my day job, so don't worry about that. So, I said that this thing, I have said this before when I looked at this tank originally, that it's quite mobile. The gun is, it's good. I mean, it is a 105mm gun, but what it lacks in penetration with the HESH shell, it more than makes up for with the rate of fire. More to the point, that 5.9 second reload rate is really going to come into its own when you are desperately in need of changing ammunition types. Now, that Lorraine that I just taken out was the last vehicle in this general location, so now we're going to head over to B and see what we can see over in that direction. Now, this thing is reasonably mobile, but it's no speed demon by any stretch of the imagination. Nowhere near it, even. So several minutes later, we've managed to get to almost the B capture point, and I've been looking at the map and I'm aware that there are a few vehicles around here. According to the markers on the map, they are medium tanks, although I haven't actually seen anything yet. Nothing that I can shoot at least. I've only ever seen markers on the map at this point. I have no idea that there are actually 2 vehicles right over to my left, about 50-60 meters away. The first inkling I get is the smoke shell and the muzzle blast from the gun, so I use my good gun depression, 7 degrees, to go up to the ridgeline and take a peek. And what do we have here? That is a T-54, which model is that? 1949, I believe, due to the sloping at the back of the turret. First shot bounces, that's Sabo for you. Second shot does not. There is also something else up here, something far more dangerous, in my opinion, than a T-54. Who hasn't noticed that I'm here yet? Once again, the first shot well, technically it bounces, but all it does is basically jack all. Second shot thankfully takes out the IS-6, keeping me alive for a little while longer. This Sabo shell, and it's not just on this gun, it's Sabo in general, not fin stabilised though, just Sabo, seems to have this weird thing where it overpens like mad from the side but then won't penetrate from the front. And this is where the HESH comes in. 120, what was it, 126 I believe I said, millimeters of penetration on the HESH. At any range, at a flat angle. But what that doesn't tell you is that if HESH hits spaced armour, it tends to not do anything. and if I'd been firing HESH at the side of that IS-6, he probably would have just swung the gun round and killed me. So when I could have changed ammunition types, it turned out that it may have been a better decision for me to have stayed with Sabo, as I did. And that may have been the right decision. Thoughts down in the comments though, because HESH doesn't seem to be working as well as it used to. To an extent, I think it may have been a bit overpowered, really. But then, the British don't get heat, and they need something to compensate for it, and Sabo may not be the answer. Of course, that's entirely up to you and your opinion on that. So we are taking the B capture zone and keeping our eyes peeled for anything that may be around trying to take us out while we're in the process of doing this. I was actually genuinely surprised when I unlocked this tank. I kind of thought it was going to be a bit of a waste of time. I already had the Conqueror. Well, no, that's not correct. I had this tank and I'd already started researching the Conqueror before this thing was even added. So I didn't really see the point in going back and getting it, and I knew the Conqueror was going to be a bit meh anyway. There will be a review coming out at some stage as well, but hey, this was the tank I got a decent match in, so figured I'd do this review first. That's the way I work. Good videos usually get, well, good footage usually gets made into videos first. So with the B capture point secure, we're going to go and take a look at A. Once we get to A, we begin capturing the zone, as you would. And again, as I said, this vehicle didn't really seem like a brilliant decision or choice to me personally. I thought it was too slow, because it is kind of sluggish. It's fast when it gets moving, but its acceleration leaves a little to be desired. I thought it was sluggish, too lightly armoured, and why would I need this when I have the Centurion? But this thing has one little ace up its sleeve that I think is drastically underappreciated in War Thunder. It's got a very low silhouette, it's quite low to the ground, which allows it to use its gun depression to its utmost advantage, showing the enemy team that may be on the other side of a ridgeline only your upper frontal plate and your gun mantlet, which is a great help, obviously. With the A point secure, we begin to head back over to B, only to realise that our team had captured B once again, so we begin heading back once we realised A is being taken from us. Whew, round and round we go. Life is never easy for a tank driver in War Thunder, especially not at high tiers. So what would I say if I was going to wrap up this review, as I'm now doing, about this tank? It gets a stabiliser, which can't be underappreciated. The T-54s and the Leopards do not get them, which means they can't be as good as firing on the move, even if they're firing heat. I mean, if they can't hit you, it's kind of pointless. The mobility is good, the rate of fire makes up for the meh ammunition. But then, that's just my opinion. Let me know what you think down in the comment section down below. I hope you all enjoyed the video. I hope you enjoyed the intro bit as well. I thought that was kind of clever. But, hey, thank you very much for watching. Please like, share and subscribe for more. And I will see you guys in the next War Thunder video. Cheers.